A large portion of the Jewish nation has returned to its homeland, but the heart, soul, and mind of much of the Jewish nation are still in exile mode. This state of affairs must and will inevitably change. This is Torah Nation TV from Jerusalem, and we are speaking with the head of Machon Shilo, Rabbi David Bar-Hayim. Shalom, Rabbi Bar-Hayim.
Shalom.
In a recent interview, the rabbi referred to the statement of Chazal that in order to speak the truth, one has to be financially independent. Are there not, however, other explanations of that statement?
The statement to which you refer in the Talmud Bavli, Masechet Nadarim, Daf Lamed Het Amud Aleph 38a, speaks of the qualities that are required for someone to receive the gift of prophecy or the ability to see and understand things on a higher level than most people, which is to say, to receive Ruach HaKodesh, special inspiration from above. And the qualities mentioned there are Chokhmah, wisdom, and Gevurah, which normally would be translated as bravery or being courageous, etc. And it also speaks of being ashir, being literally wealthy. And I explained that this statement confounded many of the Mefarshim, many of the commentators, and I quoted the Perush of Rav Hirsch, who explains very correctly, in my view, that the concept of ashir does not come to state that a person must be a millionaire in order to be a man of truth or a spiritual leader or a prophet or anything of the sort, but rather it means to say that he has to be independent, financially independent, to the extent that he is not dependent upon others. He is able to speak his mind without taking into account what others would want him to do and what they might do to him if they're not pleased with what he has to say. This is the explanation of Rav Hirsch on that pasuk, on that statement of Chazal. And even though it is true that there are other explanations that have been offered to explain the concept of osher, of wealth, by other Mefarshim in a very different, along very different lines, there can be no doubt that this idea that in order to speak truth, a Torah scholar, and even more so a person who was a leader of some kind, a spiritual leader, a prophet, even a man of deep thoughts, and a person a thinker who speaks to people and imbues them with new ideas and new insights. Such a person, in order to speak the truth, to be free and able to speak his mind, he has to be free of any outside forces and pressures. This idea cannot be contested. We find this idea explicitly in Parashat Yitro, in Sefer Shemot, Perek Yod Het. There, in Pasuk Kaf Aleph, verse 21, Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, says to him, Wa'ata v'hazeh mikol ha'am. You must therefore go and select from the people Anshe Ha'il, Yirei Elohim, Anshe Emeth, Sona'e V'asa. These are the people, the kinds of people you must choose to be judges and leaders of the people. Now these terms are explained by Chazal and by the Mefarshim. The term Anshe Ha'il, which the Targum, for example, does not really translate or make very clear. He just simply says Guvrin de Hela. The word Hela or Ha'il in Hebrew, Hela in Aramaic, simply means a lot of something, a great collection or a great gathering together of something. It can be wealth, it can be wisdom, it can be strength, and therefore we don't really know what the Targum refers to. But Rashi, on the other hand, explains explicitly. Rashi says, Anshe Ha'il Ashirim, wealthy. That is to say, again, I understand wealthy here not to mean that the person has to be a hugely wealthy individual who has business concerns all over the world. What this means is that he is not beholden to others. As Rashi goes on to say, She'en sarichim lahanif ulhakir panim. They are not required, they're not in a position that requires them to speak other than the truth in order to find favor in the eyes of others. So says Rashi. Rashi, in fact, is simply quoting from the Mechilata, which states in Masechta Da'malek Parashat Beth, in Parashat Yitro, Anshe Hayil Elu Ashirim Ba'ale Mamon. Here we see that the word Ashir refers to not necessarily a hugely wealthy individual, but someone who has Mammon, who has means, so that he is independent and not required to do the behest of others. The next statement in the Mechilata is Yirei Elohim, people who fear Hashem. Elu shehem yireim mina makom badin. They have fear of heaven, and they will not do anything which is not true and honest. These statements are to be found in the Mechilata, and this is the interpretation of Rabbi Yehoshua, and this is what Rashi quotes. And this is also what the Rashbam writes in his commentary on this pasuk. He writes, Anshe mamon u'gvura shelo yahuru mipnei ish. This refers to Anshe Haya, refers to people who have financial means, and they are bold and courageous. They are people who are strong-minded, so they will be willing and able to say the truth. Shelo yahuru mipnei ish. They will not fear other people. They will not be cowed by others into not following the truth and not following what they know to be true. So this perush, this understanding is in no way hidush of Rav Hirsch. The fact that in order to be able to speak the truth and to be a true leader, one needs to be free of outside pressures of all kinds, whether financial, political, social, etc. This idea is also to be found in the Talmud Bavli Masechet Ketubot Daf Kov Hamud Beth 105b, the top of the page. It states that Rav Nachman Bar Kohen explained the pasuk in Mishlei Melech B'Mishpat Ya'amid Aras Ve'ish Terumot Yaharsena, which literally means that a king is able to establish truth and justice in his land, but another kind of person is not. And the explanation of this pasuk is as follows. Im domeh dayan lemelech, if the judge is like a king, sheno sarich lechlum, that he does not require anything of anybody, then yamid eretz, then he is able to establish things and set things up as they should be. Ve'im domeh lekohen shemehazer ala geronoth, but if he is like a kohen who receives terumah, who receives handouts from others, then yaharsena, such a person is not able to establish things on the proper basis, on the proper foundation. And Rashi explains, Sheno sarich lechlum, if the dayan, if the judge, and you can, if you wish, replace the term judge or dayan here for politician, leader, rabbi, educator, etc. If the person in question is ashir, in other words, he has what he requires, wa'eno sarich la'ahnif, says Rashi, en sarich la'ahnif, he doesn't have to pander to others in order to get that which he requires, then he is able to do the right thing, is able to speak the truth and establish justice and truth in his land or in his court, or if we're talking about academics, in their faculty, in their teaching, in their writings, etc. It all comes down to the ability to speak freely, for a person to speak his or her mind, because they are not beholden, they are not pressured into accepting certain politically correct notions or not speaking about certain things because other people don't like it or will not approve and may be able to harm them in some way. This notion is well known throughout the Torah. This is something that Yitro said to Moshe Rabbeinu, and this is one of the conditions for establishing courts of law and justice and leadership amongst the Jewish people. And therefore there is no doubt that even if one wishes to explain that statement in Masechet Nedarim differently from that which Rav Hirsch explains, the idea itself is unassailable.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.